Right now, I am standing on top of a 40-acre mound of nuclear waste. This is the Weldon Spring Site in Weldon, Missouri. And if you watched the last episode, you know a little bit about the history of this place, how it started off as little farms and a couple of communities. And then during World War II was transitioned to a production facility for TNT. And then in the Cold War was a processing facility for uranium, which was used in the atomic bombs. Well, there is a lot more in this area that we didn't show in that episode. So today we are going to do a little bit of exploring and see what is left from the World War II era and the cleanup era in the Cold War. All right, so we have left the nuclear waste disposal cell and we've made our way over to where all of the ammunition bunkers were during the World War II era, and they're still here today. I think there's like over 90, between 90 and 100 of these things that are scattered out all around the Weldon Spring Site. And here's one of them right here. So when you are producing DNT or TNT, well, there are a lot of things that you have to consider. Chief among them is, well, getting blown up. So here at this site, there were a whole bunch of bunkers like this that were built to hold the explosives that were being manufactured at Weldon Spring. So once it left the facility, they would have carts that would be wooden. They didn't want any sparks that would potentially ignite the TNT and cause a larger explosion and kill people and damage the facilities. So they built these bunkers all over, and they're spread out all over this property, or all over this area. And inside would house these explosives until they were ready to be moved to another place. Now, you can see there's a big door there, and it is completely locked up and sealed shut, and this bunker in particular has really been hit with a lot of graffiti. And if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know how I feel about graffiti. If you haven't watched my channel for a long time, well, let me just bring you up to date. I don't like it at all. I don't like people taking it upon themselves to deface property that is not theirs. Now, there is some graffiti, if it's commissioned, that I think is really good and really artful and really impressive, but I'm not seeing that here. So anyway, this is, I think we can maybe just say this is not even graffiti, this is vandalism. And look here, Jimmy and Emmy, I hope that you two broke up right after this. All right, here's another one of these ammunition bunkers here. And this one, well, this one I'm liking a little bit more. This one isn't all marred up and graffitied and everything like that. So if we go up here, looks like this one obviously has some sort of gate or fencing over it, and it's too dark for us to see in there. But we're out here in this open area, and from here, we can get a pretty good idea of how far apart these things were spaced. So here's one right here. And then if we look off in the distance, well, there's another one. Over there, I'm going to guess maybe 150 to 200 yards. If I had to shoot a deer at that distance, that's what I would guesstimate it at. But yeah, here's another one of these bunkers. And speaking of deer, one thing that I do want to note is that if you look at this area, boy, the reclamation efforts here are really something else. I've been hearing bobwhite quail whistling, which there have been fewer and fewer of those things in recent years, so it really makes me happy to hear them. But yeah, this was a site that had a lot of nuclear waste and was definitely a hazard at one point, but it's has been and continues to be restored. In the last episode, we made mention of the fact that this whole area wasn't always government ground. At one point, these were little communities. There were 3 towns here. This was all farm ground that was owned by regular, everyday Americans. And when World War II came along, the government deemed that there was a crisis, and because there was a crisis, they seized this ground, and basically all of these families had to move out so that the DNT and TNT facilities could be developed. So I know there's probably some mixed opinions on that, whether it was, their patriotic duty to give up their ground, or whether that was a little bit of government overreach. But they never got it back. And to my knowledge, there's no surviving elements of those communities or farms. But one piece of evidence that we do have of who was here and that there was a community here at one point is this cemetery. This is Francis Howell Cemetery. So here are a few of the graves that would have existed during the World War II era. Now, I walked through some newer graves to get here, so apparently this is still an open cemetery. I saw some like from around 2020. I'm not going to show those because I don't show newer graves. I just show older historic graves. But here's someone who died in 1886. I'm seeing one back here that has an American flag by it. Oh, this is the grave of Francis Howell. I'm assuming this is who the cemetery and the high school that I passed on the way in is named after. There's a Francis Howell High School here. Looks like he died May 1871 and was a veteran of the War of 1812. I'm seeing another American flag back here. Let's see, here's a Sarah Howell Stewart who died 1846. And then this one is another Howell, but I can't read it, and it looks like it's another War of 1812 veteran. So there was a community here, and this was the cemetery where they buried their family members. By the way, that exceptionally loud noise that you were hearing in the background today, those are cicadas, and here you can see the remnants of some cicadas. So these are the guys who are making all of the racket. All right. We'll see if we can find a few more of these bunkers. All right, got another bunker here that we've found, and this is honestly just right by the road, which makes sense, for the U.S. military or for the people who were running the TNT and DNT plant. You want easy access to it, so it's always going to be by a road network. This one doesn't look to be all graffitied up like that other one, which I like, and I wish that there was a way that we could get inside. But there is some big old hulk of a something right here in front of the door. And I'm not sure what it is. And I don't think that I'll be moving that to try and get to the door. You'd have to be one heck of a hoss to be able to move that thing. But anyway, let me see if I can come around this side. See if we can get a better look at it. And again, I don't know what this is or why it was placed here, but at least we're getting a little bit better look at this bunker in its original condition. All right, we're gonna see if we can find another one here. All right, now I said that I wanted to find one of these bunkers with the door open to just get a little bit of a peek inside, and I think that we may have found ourselves a candidate. So if we go up here, you can get a little bit better look at, I'll call it a blast door, but this door that of course sealed off the bunker. And yeah, let me get my light out and we'll take a quick peek inside. All right, just got inside here, and it looks like obviously this is being used for some sort of storage, but yeah, it's just kind of a basic look at the inside of one of these ammunition bunkers. So really, honestly, not a whole lot to it, but this is where a lot of TNT and DNT would have been stored for use in the Second World War. Yeah, interesting. All right, well, those were a few of the ammunition bunkers here around the Weldon Spring Site that were used during World War II. Now, in the last video, I also showed a photo of a quarry that was nearby, where during the Cold War era, they just dumped all of the contaminated nuclear waste products, like barrels and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and make our way over to another part of this area and see if we can find that quarry and see what it looks like today. If you'll remember in the last video, there was a clip that I showed of a rock quarry where all of this nuclear waste had been dumped. There were like barrels that were marked empty for empty. There was all kinds of trash. Well, this right here, believe it or not, is in the middle of the rock quarry. So you wouldn't know it by looking at it now, but if we would have been standing here in the 1960s or the early 1970s, well, we probably wouldn't have been standing here very long. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to be standing here very long today because the mosquitoes are absolutely awful. And you probably can't even hear me over the cicadas right now. But anyway, this is the main dumping ground where a lot of nuclear waste ended up from the Weldon Spring Site. Well, during the cleanup effort, they got all of that stuff out of here. A lot of it, well, all of it ended up in the disposal cell that we were at the beginning of the video. And then this became part of the cleanup effort. So there was an effort to fill in this quarry. As a matter of fact, if we go over here, and on the other side of this brush, yeah, you'll be able to see some of the limestone from the quarry. So there's kind of like the wall of the quarry. Anyway, this was filled in and planted, and now nature has reclaimed a lot of what man had kind of made a mess of in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. Yeah, this is really something else to see. Oh, and I'm going to be leaving a pint of blood from all of the mosquitoes. All right, well, we just got out of the mosquito pit there in the quarry. Holy smokes. Like, that was legitimately the worst swarm of mosquitoes I've ever been in. I've bear hunted Canada and didn't run into anything that bad. But anyway, that was a little bit more of some of the structures left behind and some of the ruins, I guess you could say, from World War II and the Cold War era here at Weldon Spring. And I know that it would be easy to kind of look at this era and throw stones and cast judgment of the people of the past. And did they mess some things up here? Yeah, very much so. But they're people. And people just have a habit of making mistakes. You learn from the mistakes, and then you do what the people have done here in recent years by helping to clean it up and not make those mistakes again. Who knows? 50 to 100 years from now, people will look back at us and they will think that we were crazy for some of the ideas and some of the things that we had and did. But anyway, that was a little bit more from here at Weldon Spring.